Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Life Start Sit Hour. I'm your host, Ian Hartitz. It is a great day to be great. It's a great day to win those freaking week 6 matchups, people. So I hope you guys have had a good weekend. And for the next hour, myself and the one, the only, Chris Allen in the house are going to be answering as many of your Start Sit questions that we can get to. Mr. Chris, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you too, brother. And we've got already an international game going on right now, so folks get a little bit of early morning live action football. Of course, we send our best over to get a kicker fest like overseas because you got to do that if you can. But otherwise, man, we got maybe a couple of gross weather games. But otherwise, man, let's talk through some matchups, man.
Matchup-based top flex plays of the week was Troy Franklin, so always great to wake up early and then see the first drive ending with him fumbling the football. So touchdown Michael Burton, no, Atkins, the Atkins diet, Nate. All right, so anyone that had him, good for you. But Chris, let's get after it. Just to recap, guys, a lot of the news and reports that we had kind of over the last 24 hours, okay? Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray is not expecting to play. It is going to be Jacoby Brissett under center. The slander for Kyler will be at all-time high if we end up seeing Marv have a big game here. Also, Jatavian Sanders, Panthers tight end, not expecting to play. If you were sick enough to play Tommy Trembles, this would be the week. Quentin Johnston, game time decision, but we are hearing from reports that he is more so on the doubtful side of things. So honestly, would not be expecting much from him there. It is going to be, nice little boost there for Lab McConkey and Keenan Allen, maybe Trey Scott filling out in 3 wide receiver sets. Expected to play. We do have Jamar Chase with the illness. So Trey Harris, I don't know why I always say Trey Scott sometimes. Sorry about that, everyone. I don't know what it is, Chris. I've been doing it since the draft. I just need to watch the film and get better. Trey Harris, small bump for QJ. Expect to play. Jamar Chase, Zay Flowers, although he could be on a little bit of a pitch count. Not great weather. We'll get to that in a second. Not ideal. Mac Jones should be out there for the 49ers. Juwan Jennings should be making his return, which is good. Also, Alvin Kamara should be good. No Jalen Coker this week. No Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, or Darnell Mooney on Monday Night Football. Get them out of the lineups. Nyheim Hines is going to be active for the Chargers. Again, in my opinion, a little bit more of a slight dock for Kamani Vidal versus Hassan Haskins. Questionable for Monday. We do have Deebo Samuel, Chris Rodriguez, Colston Loveland, and Dalton Kincaid. I'm a little unsure on Kincaid, Chris. I think Deebo should be fine because he's kind of been on the injury report already. Is that where you are with those guys?
Yeah, although I did read a tweet yesterday about Deebo specifically saying that they're trying to help, or the coaches are trying to help manage this heel issue that's been bothering him for the past couple of weeks. Don't know if that's going to be a thing that's going to be more of a long-term thing that they're trying to work through, or if this is really just trying to get him through each game on a weekly basis. So I do have some general level of concern. And of course, without Terry McLaurin being active for today's game, I do wonder if it's going to be more of, let's say they try and get Luke McCaffrey or any of the other like wide receivers or pass catchers involved. But if Deebo is going to be active for this week, which all signs point to, you're starting him.
Tom Pelissero this morning, Deebo, quote, sounds like he's going to be good to go. So again, not 100% sure, but if I have Deebo in my lineups, I'm going to go ahead and trust that he will be out there. Otherwise, Chris, before we get to everyone's start sit questions, just 2 weather situations to be a little bit aware of. Let's talk about the Cowboys at the Panthers and the Rams at the Ravens.
So we'll start with the Rams at the Ravens. So that one popped up when I was doing the weekly data pool that I do for the weather projections. And if you read the fantasy cheat sheet I put together for Fantasy Life, it should be up there right now. And I walked through it on Friday, and it hasn't gotten too much worse, looking at about 16, 17 mile per hour winds across the stadium. So if you are playing, let's say like the Rams kicker or something like that, you might have a potential for a cross breeze, which might deter or bring down the expectations for the Rams kicker. But also in the area, there's supposed to be gale winds potentially coming off the East Coast. Those are more like gusts, projection, or things that just happen, or they're unexpected, but they wind up kicking up the wind to close to 40, 50 miles an hour. I typically don't make roster decisions based on stuff that you can't predict when it's going to happen or not. It's just something to be aware of. But since there's no rain in the forecast and we're really dealing with just wind, I'm not too terribly concerned about it. I'm still playing this game as I typically would. If you're looking at Matthew Stafford as a quarterback streamer, that's fine. Of course, you're starting Puka. Of course, you're starting Kyron and even Devontae Adams. So, and on the flip side of that, Derrick Henry, we'll see how many questions we get about him, but I think I'm still starting Henry wherever I've got him. But at least for that game, no issues. And then for the Charlotte game, that one will be a mix of both rain and wind, around 16, 17 miles per hour, also across the stadium. The rain, I'm not too concerned about either, zero 0.03 inches per hour, which you won't even see it on the broadcast. It's not going to, there's really also no chance for field degradation. So again, I'm approaching that game as I typically would. The mix of the wind and rain, you could see a couple of, say, dropped passes or something along those lines. But if you got George Pickens, you're starting him. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions about Flournoy. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but many of the pass catchers involved, we can work through those as we come.
Kind of convenient that, again, the two concerned games we have pretty concentrated, attacks, I guess, in the run and pass games. So we don't have to, again, be worrying too much about the weather related impact. You mentioned Derrick Henry. It is someone who I've, again, had to, with some of the handcuffs rising up, especially into really big roles, dropped him down to around RB18, RB19. That said, you would have to be especially blessed to put the big dog anywhere near that bench. But with that, Chris, let's get into it. As always, guys, we do invite you to check out our ranks over at fantasylife.com. If you guys do not have a Fantasy Life Plus subscription, which you do need to see the ranks, it is your lucky day. If you head on over to our MB Fantasy Life Twitter, you can find out how to get an absolutely free 12 months of Fantasy Life Plus. Basically, all you have to do is download Comet, which is powered by Perplexity. Again, we guide you the quick 2-minute how-to guide to do that over at fantasylife.com. But yeah, free Fantasy Life Plus for a year. Pretty cool. But with that, Chris, let's get into it. Starting off from our guy, Craig. Stafford or Mahomes in 4-point passing. It is a situation where it's pretty close this week. I'm still going with Mahomes, though. The dude's, I think, third in the NFL in rushing, and just enough weather concern, Chris, where give me Patty.
Yeah, and also for facing Detroit, Taron Arnold is supposed to miss this game, and I believe they're supposed to be down at least a couple other defenders as well. Kirby Joseph and Avonte Maddox also supposed to be out for the Lions. So with the Chiefs offense looking much better over the past couple weeks, even with Xavier Worthy kind of dinged up. I think he got into full practice on Friday, but still watch what his situation is going to be for this game. I think it should be Pat Mahomes pretty handily.
I am with you there. Also, Kenneth Walker or Jaylen Warren. I believe this is going to be a consensus call for Mr. Walker in the ranks, and indeed it is. Look, Jaylen Warren could be back to that near 80% snap rate, but just coming off the injury, seeing how well played, Chris, and then against Myles Garrett and company front seven, I would like to wait a week. When you have someone like Kenneth Walker, go ahead and just take those points.
That's probably a Freudian slip right there. But I think that's where I think you're absolutely right, because we just don't know coming out of the bye what the backfield split is going to be. So I would exercise some level of caution regarding Jaylen Warren and go with the guy that we know is at least going to get most of the touches. Yes, Zach Charbonnet is the one that's been getting most of the money touches over the past couple of weeks, but if anybody's going to help get them there, it's going to be Walker.
From Ross, Hunter Henry or Travis Kelce. Looking at the ranks right now, I think I am the only alleged expert ranker that actually has, I don't know, there's a couple of us. I have Kelce over Henry. Some other people disagree. Where are you falling at, Chris?
Kelce over Henry. My concern with Kelce is that his air yard share started to dip over the past couple of weeks, and he's been getting more shorter and shorter area targets. So with, I would say, if Xavier Worthy was going to be out, or even a larger, more of it, we'd see less of him potentially, I would probably put Kelce. But at least right now, I want to go towards Henry, especially with the potential for this blowout win for the Patriots going up against the Saints. Or maybe it could be a back and forth type of thing with Rashid Shaheed, but I'm still thinking Henry is going to benefit from the Patriots being able to move the ball fairly easy against the Saints.
Our tiebreaker, the Xfinity Start Sit tool, is leaning towards Travis Kelce. But again, guys, inside of that tool, you will notice you have the ability to basically be like, am I projected to lose? This is a situation where I just want the safest floor possible. So again, straight up toss up, leaning towards Kelce here. I will say, again, it goes both ways, where it's like, oh, the Patriots should kill the Saints, and then I'm going to be putting up a lot of points. And the other side of it is like, oh, where is it going to be enough volume to go around? A little more certain that, again, Kelce could be seeing the 6 or 7 targets out there. So very, very close. Ross, I think you have to make this one for yourself, my friend. From GD, Debo, Bill Crosby, Merritt, Harrison, or Michael Carter. That is a good problem to have. Because he has Bill Crosby, Merritt, it's not a situation we need to worry about the Monday night kickoff, Chris. So I think it's probably Debo, just straight up. Bill will be close for me. I think I just go Debo.
we were talking earlier, if there was going to be, I think if there was a larger level of concern regarding this heel injury, and let's say even if Terry McLaurin was going to be active for this game, I would say, yeah, let's shy away from Debo. But since that's not the case as of right now, I think you fire up Debo one more week. Let's see how he continues to play through this heel injury and then reassess after week 7.
Then Daniel Jones versus Caleb Williams. That is going to be a consensus poll for Mr. Caleb Williams. Again, real life stuff, still taking a little bit to get there. Off script always been great, maybe coming along a little bit slowly in the Ben Johnson experience, but fantasy returns have been fantastic this year, guys. Already averaging north of 20 fantasy points per game. From Jay, Amari DiMercado, that's going to be a hard no immediately. Blake Corum or Bayshall Tootin. Man, this is the sort of start-sit questions that we live for, Chris. I'm leaning Tootin in this equation. I don't have a ton of confidence because we're talking, but my thing is like DiMercado and Corum very possibly both got doghouse for their fumbles last week. At least Tootin I can expect to get 5 to 6 touches. It's not pretty, but
Yeah, and also the hope is that this is going to be a back and forth matchup between the Seahawks and the Jags. So trying to rotate through the backfield. I know Travis Etienne is for sure going to get his, but if there's going to be a way, but we've also seen Tootin also work as a pass catcher. And with the Seahawks being down multiple defenders in this contest, I would say that there's some upside there for Tootin. It might be hard to see, but it's definitely there.
My pathetic 8-man home league, I had to make some tough decisions with buys and actually had to release Bayshall Tootin today. So just rest assured that he is now going to become one of the most valuable players in fantasy here before too long. From GD PPR, we got sit 2. So, okay, we're starting 3. I like looking at it that way more. Maybe that's just me. Tony Pollard, Travion Henderson, Jalen Warren, Michael Carter, and Jameson Williams. I feel like I'm starting the last 3. Chris, maybe I should be giving Pollard more respect. Not the easiest matchup against that pass funnel Raiders defense. Where are you at here? Warren, Carter, JMO is where I'm leaning, and then we also have Pollard and Travion Henderson to worry about.
I don't know. Can you sell me on JMO here? Just even after he had what we thought was going to be the good matchup against my Bengals, still haven't seen him crack more than maybe 15% target share in pretty much all but one game so far this season. He's really living on those deep shots like downfield, which Jared Goff isn't pulling the trigger on those all too often. And while I know it's going to be, we're assuming it's going to be a fairly tight race between them and the Chiefs. So you could see a couple of deep shots there, but still I'm having trouble with starting Jameson because I almost want to go Hendo, Warren, and Carter out of that group, even though it's I think if you need ceiling, I guess go with Jameson, but otherwise I can't do it.
And I did check the flex ranks. We do have Jameson as the 5th option here. And I also remember my matchups column actually figuring out Chris Chiefs have been a top 3 defense and limiting, wide receivers on throws 20 plus yards downfield, aka JMO's wheelhouse. So good call. And man, ever since what was it, fancy MVS, the slander you hit him with, Chris? He has not recovered. He has not recovered from that.
He watches the show clearly, and he just hasn't been able to get past it yet. And I understand, man. I apologize, man. Let's get back to you catching some of those downfield passes, man. You'll get it, JMO.
Oh, man. Okay. We got Ruckus in the house. What's up, man? McBride or Henry, 2-point PPR, tight end premium. No Kyler. Got him worried. I'm still leaning Trey McBride, man. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Jacoby Brissett goes out there and puts up very similar passing numbers to this year's Kyler at a minimum, okay? Kyler has had much better seasons, but he can't even crack 200 passing yards per game this year, only averaging 6 yards per attempt. It's been rough, Chris, so go ahead and give me Trey McBride still.
I don't see why he would be a lesser option in this case in terms of a routes run, target rate standpoint amongst all tight ends. He's still up there, has to be a top 3 option. And of course, if people are using the UR score, which kind of puts together results and also your opportunity within the offense, he is one of the better options that you could have at the position. So yeah, Trey McBride for sure.
Let's see what else we have going on here. I'm not seeing a ton populating. Maybe people hate us. Maybe we got something going on with my screen. Let's see. Also, DeAndre Swift or Jalen Warren. That one's going to be Swift for me, Chris. Again, just not too far, not too far apart, but just given the game one coming off the injury. I know it's gross. It's not 2 great options, but yeah, give me Swift.
Yeah, and but my only concern for Swift is that the interior of the Chicago Bears offensive line. I remember, if I'm remembering correctly, one of their offensive linemen might miss this game. So there's a potential there for some tougher outs, a tougher run game for Swift. But otherwise, yeah, and also Washington's defense has been pretty tough up front. But still, from a volume standpoint, I think he grades out as the better option.
Okay, doke. Moving right along from Richie flex spot. Rico Dowdle, Tedero McMillan, or DJ Moore. Panthers are down 2 or 3 starters on the O-line, Chris. That is hardly ideal. Obviously, T-Mac, though, expect to have a big game as well. I'm definitely going Dowdle or Tedero. In close start-sit decisions, I usually lean towards the running back that, again, is looking at basically 20-plus touches. But I get it. The smash spot for Tet, where do you fall?
Yeah, that's where I'll still go with Tet in this matchup just from a volume standpoint, but you do have to be concerned about how Bryce is going to operate behind that even worse offensive line against Dallas's pass rush, which has been giving quarterbacks some issues over the past couple of weeks. If I'm remembering right, around 35-40% pressure rate in weeks 4 and 5. So it's going to be tough sledding. He's going to be one of those starts where you have Tetaroa in your lineup. Don't watch the game. Maybe just mute all Panthers across social media and just checks the box score around 4:30.
All right, guys, I got my page working now. I'm seeing all the comments from the fellows. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us as always. From Jerry, Chris, Flournoy or Keon Coleman? As someone who drafted way too much Keon Coleman this offseason, this one especially hurts at 10 a.m. in the morning, Jerry, so I appreciate it. That said, oh, man. I would like to think the Falcons could make this a game with the Bills, but I don't know, man. I could still see them throwing the ball 25, 26 times. They're both in that boomer bust wide receiver 4 territory. I think I lean Keon, Chris, but that might be out of pride more than anything.
No, and you're not wrong for trying to do that, but we've only seen Coleman pop up for, let's say, even a 20% target rate in those tight games. And this Falcons offense, with the way they were looking before going into their bye, with Michael Penix really just hammering both Drake London and Kyle Pitts on a bunch of outbreakers and moving the ball downfield, they could make it a game. The Bills are supposed to be without Matt Milano in this game, if I'm remembering right. So the defense has kind of been banged up. So if we do get that almost similar situation where the Bills were in that tight race against the Patriots just last week in prime time, yeah, I could see how Coleman winds up being the better of those two. And I don't know. And I have some questions about Flournoy and his usage. I know folks want to try and glom on to how many targets he got in week 5, but they still do have other options there. And also, I think it might have been more of a matchup based thing where we've seen wide receiver 2s perform well against the Jets, and he just happened to be the wide receiver 2 for Dak Prescott last week.
No, I think that's a fair point. Also, weather tiebreaker. So our consensus records do have Keon ahead of Flournoy, but again, the hesitation there, very, very sad for the Hartitz household. From Jason, flex Pickens versus the Panthers or Debo questionable until Monday night. I'm going Pickens straight up there, Chris. And again, I think the injury thing is enough of a reason to just go with Pickens.
Yeah, 100%. And how he's been used so far, while he's still living on those, I would say not deep shots, but still more of in the intermediate to deep part of the field, which can be tough. And like we just mentioned earlier, the potential for weather shifting things a bit here and there. But given the volume and also how well Dak is playing, I'd still go with Pickens.
ETN, Michael Carter, or Alec Manor. What are you putting Alec Manor in a start-sit question with ETN for, Ruckus? I can get ETN and Michael Carter, but leave Alec out of this. Now that I said that, I'm sure Alec will score like 30 points, but I'm going with ETN here, Chris. I think it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and if there were concerns about Calvin Ridley's availability, which I don't think is the case for week 6, then I can understand it. But because at least I haven't seen anything to note Ridley might be missing this game. So yeah, I'd still say it has to be ETN and ETN out of that group.
Also, Bourne or Flournoy. I am definitely team Bourne. Some of our other rankers aren't quite as high, maybe because Juwan Jennings is expected to be playing through this one. But still, man, we don't have Ricky Pearsall. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we do see Bourne more or less keep playing that Ricky Pearsall role and actually effing around and having as many targets as, Juwan Jennings. George Kittle's still out of the picture. Give me Kendrick Bourne there.
Yeah, and we know that the Bucs are something of a pass funnel type defense in terms of how they limit a lot of opposing running games, but give it up to opposing pass catchers. And with him getting, 11 targets last week, something along those lines, I would say that Bourne has to be 11 targets last week. He has to be the better of those two options.
Big fan says it's a great day to be great, gentlemen. Yes, it is, my
is.
friend. Half point PPR thoughts on Juwan Johnson versus Harold Fannin today and the rest of season. Browns are embracing this rookie movement, guys. Njoku is someone I believe only tied the team through the rest of this season. My God, if something happened there in the trade streets, it would be full wheels up for Fannin. And honestly, probably pretty close as it is. That said, this last week, we did see the Browns really shift things a bit more towards David Njoku. Still not exactly sold on Dylan Gabriel enabling two consistent tight ends or anything like that. I would go ahead and still lean Juwan Johnson here, Chris. Patriots, I believe, have also allowed the third most fantasy points to opposing tight ends this year, and Christian Gonzalez is banged up, although I did not see his final designation. Where are you at here, Chris, between Juwan and Harold Fannin?
Juwan, because even last week with Taysom Hill coming back, he only played 9 snaps, and that was mostly at quarterback. So it wasn't the same old BS with Taysom really taken away from the other either tight ends or anybody else. So without knowing how much they're going to try and expand his role at this point, I'll still go with Juwan Johnson. Still had a solid route rate in week 5 versus Harold Fannin, where I'd say the offense is moving better with Dylan Gabriel because his average time to throw was around 2.4, 2.5 seconds. So he wasn't holding on to the ball and getting the ball as quickly as possible. But let's see if they try and incorporate both tight ends in this matchup against the Steelers, who I think they've also got a couple of players that are supposed to be out. Because I think Ramsey's supposed to be missing this game?
I thought he was supposed to, because I think he was originally listed as doubtful, and they upgraded him to questionable, and he's now expected to play. So good for him.
Okay, cool.
All right. From Justin, good morning, man. Full PPR, Kincaid or Andrews. Okay, Kincaid or Andrews. I didn't see anything, Chris. I don't know if you did, about like if Kincaid is good to go or not, because like that's the problem. It definitely would be Dalton Kincaid.
Still has the Q tag last I saw. I didn't see anything
He's got
to
that
say.
Oblique.
Yeah. But I didn't see anything to say he was going to miss.
Yeah, he was limited all week. I would go ahead and roll the dice with Dalton Kincaid. I'm just really not feeling good about Andrews in this spot. Isaiah Likely's back crunching things up. And honestly, like in a worst case scenario, man, I would just be live and ready, like watching this stuff, because if you do have to, obviously pivot, there is a chance that someone like maybe Zach Ertz is available. Jake Tunges is on your, we're not Tunges, he's not playing tomorrow night. But, this is a situation where you can get Dawson Knox, perhaps. What would be the other available options for that game? Cole Kmet, like in a worst case scenario. Yeah. I think there's enough upside with Dalton Kincaid there, and you have other guys who, honestly, like if Colson Loveland's out, Cole Kmet would be a good, if not better, play than Mark Andrews as it is. I think I'm okay risking it, Chris. How about you?
It's tough to trust any of the Baltimore pass catchers with Cooper Rush still under center. So they've tried to spread the ball out as much as possible. We even saw, it was Nuke getting in the mix last week, Rashad Bateman, Zay. All of them were, they were trying to get as many receivers out on routes as possible just to take as much pressure off for Cooper Rush. So without anything really centering on Andrews, and we can't even really expect them to be operating in the red zone all too terribly often anyway. I think they just ran 5 plays inside the Texans red zone just last week. Tough to trust any of the Ravens pass catchers at this point.
Also, Haskins, Golden, or Stevenson. The flex, we do have a consensus, a ranker verdict as Ramondre Stevenson, particularly with that slimmed down backfield. You on the same page, Chris?
Yeah, I would love to see more of Matthew Golden coming out of the bye, but we can't really project that. I know folks have probably seen the post-bye rookie bump. That's a thing that typically happens, and especially since they're playing my Bengals, the potential for it is there, but it could be Tucker Kraft rumbling in for a couple of touchdowns, Romeo Doubs doing his same BS, catching a couple of touchdowns. It's tough to trust any of them at this point.
With Jennings coming back, him or Bourne, we were just kind of talking about this a little bit with the potential for, again, Bourne to potentially just be that more underneath target, and maybe he actually soups up the parasol stuff. I have Bourne one spot ahead of Juwan Jennings, Chris. Again, both guys inside my top 32. I think we're going to see most of the targets around them. It's close, but yeah. I think Jennings is going to play, but there's enough concern for me that he's less than 100%. So give me Kendrick Bourne.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's where just leaning towards the guy that's a bit healthier, I think is completely reasonable in this spot. Is Jennings the better of the 2 wide receivers? I think so. I don't see much of any evidence to support Bourne being better, but it's just if they're both going to be playing in this highly efficient offense and one's going to be healthier, then I'll take the healthy guy.
From Joseph G, flex non-PPR, Haskins, Vidal, or Tyquan Thornton. It is a sneaky shootout for Thornton. I would projections probably say Haskins. I think I maybe lean Thornton. He brought it up. You brought it up, Chris, and mentioned the corners that are injured for the Lions. And honestly, also DJ Reed got placed on IR last week with that hamstring injury. So they're really hurting right now. It could be a sneaky shootout. Thornton just keeps making big plays. Haskins could fall into the end zone a couple times. It could also be an evenly split 3-back committee behind what we already know is a bad offensive line. Give me Tyquan Thornton.
I want the upside there for Tyquan Thornton because we know, even with the pass catchers being somewhat spread out for the Chiefs, that Thornton is still getting those shots downfield from Patrick Mahomes. He's still looking for them in those cases, even though it's Juju Smith-Schuster, it's Hollywood Brown, it's Travis Kelce, even Brashard Smith out of the backfield catching passes, and Thornton is still collecting air yards out of that, where we cannot project, or we don't have enough information to project what that backfield split is going to be. Shoot, it could be Justin Herbert running for a few yards here and there as well. So I'll go with the quantity that I know in Tyquan Thornton versus trying to figure out what that backfield split in Chargers is going to be.
Joseph mentioned he also is an underdog today, so something to keep in mind there as well. And again, with that, I would also definitely go with Thornton. Sterling Shepard, I believe, or Travion Henderson for a flex and full PPR. I get the bump up for Shep. I think I'm still going Henderson, though, Chris. Again, the fact that Gibson is out of the picture really should finally help give some rewards to us Travion truthers out here.
Yeah, and also playing against the Saints, they are 8th in PPR points per game allowed to the running back position using our DVP tool over on the site. So I know we're betting on the come here in terms of will Henderson see a larger workload with Antonio Gibson being out, but I'm willing to take that bet, at least for this week.
How about Ruckus? Bears DST looking nicey. I wouldn't exactly say nicey, but we could see it happen. I was surprised going through some defensive stuff for the Bears, and I was kind of still under the impression they were really bad, and they actually are more so middle of the pack in everything. Yeah. So they are getting healthier.
Just watch out for those Hail Marys from Jaden Daniels.
I know, guys. Maybe just focus on the play on the field, when those situations are arising. From Ned, though, Colts D or Steelers D? I'm going with Steelers, man. Again, when it's a tough call between guys with two good matchups, I take the group that I think is better in real life. And I know the Steelers haven't been great to start the year. That said, Chris, we still got TJ Watt. We got Jalen Ramsey coming out here. They've been getting healthy coming off the bye. Give me the Steelers here.
They have been living off turnovers, but that's what we want from a fantasy standpoint. And if this was Colts going up against Jacoby Brissett, while we're not thinking that Brissett is going to be some sort of world beater, could he operate this offense the way it's intended versus what Kyler's been doing? I think it's possible. I mean, it wouldn't be too outlandish to see him actually connect with Marvin Harrison down the field. So I would say that the Steelers D is probably the better of the two.
Again, guys, you can check out all of our ranks over at fantasylife.com. I am actively making some adjustments as we continue rolling on. CC Denton, we got flex question, Jacoby Myers versus Calvin Ridley. I'm pretty sure I have them pretty freaking close, man. Yep, right next to each other, but Brock Bowers out. I lean Jacoby Myers. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, and I'd say Myers is the better of the two. And I think it's mostly just because he gets more of those slot targets, which we would think would be the layup targets that Geno Smith needs to keep the offense going versus seeing him try to take the shots downfield or anything like that. So if they're going to try and give him a simpler game plan, try and keep it just underneath, get the ball in his hands as quickly as possible, let Myers or Michael Mayer or even Ashton Genty work after the catch, then I would say Myers is or even Trey Tucker, I would say Myers is the better of those two options.
603, Michael Carter or Travion Henderson in full PPR. I'm going Carter there, Chris, but are you a little different here?
I mean, the only thing would be if on top of the fine that the Cardinals also forced Jonathan Gannon to play Amari DiMercato more this week after everything that's happened. But I would say just looking at how much Carter was used over any of the running backs last week, I think it's going to be Carter.
This whole thing is ridiculous. I won't. Yeah. Ryan Sickles, Justin Herbert, or Dak Prescott. Just given the state of that offensive line in Los Angeles, give me Dak Prescott here, Chris. It is a situation where we know Herbert, he had like a 41-yard rush last week. I get it. Dak has been moving around a little bit, more in recent weeks in his own right. I just trust his Cowboys offense a lot more than Los Angeles right now. Also, Quentin Johnson not being there, not exactly helping matters. Just good God, Chargers, what did you do to these injury gods in your past life? I don't know. Give me Dak, though, and I do believe that is consensus amongst the fantasy rankers. Where are you at, Chris?
like we were talking earlier, I think we're projecting how the Chargers are now going to approach this matchup without having Martin Hampton and also multiple stars on their offensive line being out. Could he rush for 40 yards and a score? Yes, it's absolutely possible. But again, we're trying to project game script or game flow, and sometimes we get it wrong. So I'd rather go with the commodity that we know in terms of Dak Prescott, how well he's playing, how efficient he's playing, and of course the matchup against the Panthers, even if it is going to be somewhat of a downgrade weather-wise.
I just got the game rolling on one of my monitors, guys, and all I saw was that the Jets have 12 plays for 1 yard right now.
That's outstanding.
Yikes. Not great. From Ronaldo, good morning. Sam Darnold or Mac Jones? I am going to be leaning towards Sam Darnold there. They are pretty close. I got Darnold 15, Mac Jones QB 17. Again, 49ers lead the entire NFL in passing yards this year, which is, again, wild, the fact they've had all these injuries and still keeping that up. So volume could be there for Mac. We know Seahawks want to run the ball. But that said, I do think you mentioned earlier, Chris, could be a potential shootout there between the Jaguars and Seahawks, especially given some of those injuries in the Seahawks secondary. So give me Darnold, but it is close.
Yeah, and with as well, Sam Darnold has been playing through 5 weeks. I mean, almost top 5 in terms of EPA per dropback, also leading the league or up towards the top of the quarterback ranks in terms of air yards per attempt. So he's slinging it downfield to JSN and Cooper Kupp and also AJ Barner if you're looking for another tight end that you can potentially pick up and start this week. I think it's Darnold, but to your point, the way that Mac Jones has been connecting with Kendrick Bourne and also having Jawan Jennings back, it's close.
So Jennings or Bourne, as we were saying before, we are leaning towards Kendrick Bourne there. From N712 Hockey, hey guys, which RB would you start, ETN or Dowdle? I believe, let's see, it is pretty close. So I have ETN 1 spot ahead of Dowdle. Our other rankers are disagreeing. So it is pretty damn close, Chris. Seattle run D has been better. I think touches are going to be pretty even, though. Rico was great last week. Cowboys' run defense isn't horrible, though, and I wouldn't say it's a smash. It is a revenge game for Rico, so we got to keep that in mind. But just again, that banged-up Panthers offensive line, I have them both as top 15 options. He added, if you think it's too close, I could take Devontae Adams out. I would keep Devontae Adams in, particularly in this spot against the banged-up Ravens. So Etienne or Dowdle, it's very, very close. I'll let you decide, Chris.
I'll go Dowdle on this one, and not just because of the revenge game narrative, but just how efficient he was last week with his touches. And if this is going to be a case where he has the clear runway in terms of getting all of the touches for that backfield, whereas we were talking earlier about Bashal Tutin potentially mixing in with Travis Etienne, not a ton, but enough that if you had to consider him for a couple of carries here and there and maybe a target or two, I'd say Rico Dowdle probably grades out as the better of the two.
And just look at the way he's looking at us in our Xfinity starts.
That face, I mean, I love that. I love that shot of him.
Staring us down. From Ryan, start 2. Warren, I'm assuming of the Jalen variety, Michael Carter, Alvin Kamara, and Jawan Jennings. So we have Carter in our consensus flex rankings, 47th overall. Jalen Warren is 49th. Alvin Kamara is 57th, and Jawan Jennings is a little bit lower at 63rd. So, again, good question. They're all in 15 spots, but I think I am in agreement. Jalen Warren and Michael Carter, Chris, it feels weird putting Kamara down. I'd be fine doing Carter and Kamara. I'll say that.
Yeah, Carter and Kamara, I think is fine. The whole Kendre Miller seeing more snaps and work over the last 3 to 4 weeks is something to at least be somewhat concerned about. But I'd still say that Kamara in this matchup against the Patriots, I'd say I give him the lean here. And then also Carter, we talked about him earlier and his potential workload in this matchup against the Colts. I think it's those two.
Would you trade Jordan Addison for Jalen Warren?
Not straight up. I don't think so. And honestly, I don't think the person that has Jalen Warren would maybe make that trade just with as many running back injuries as we've had so far throughout the season. Unless that person has a bunch of depth already in their team, I don't know if somebody would be giving up a running back that's getting touches on a weekly basis.
Yeah, again, I'm not expecting too much out of Addison. I know he found his way into the end zone at the end of last week. He had that fairly fluky blown coverage, big play the week before. So, yeah, wide receiver 3 for an RB3 in all likelihood. Chris, Harold Fannin or Kate Otten? I'm leaning Harold Fannin, but Otten did finally get going right after I kind of gave up on him. So, lean Fannin, but it is close. What say you, Chris?
At least for this week, I'm leaning towards Kate Otten. My thought was going to be that he would be asked to block much more just with all of the injuries to the offensive line. But I think this week with no Godwin, Mike Evans still out, he could be that option, that third option for Baker Mayfield. So looking at it as, and especially since we're thinking this is going to be something of a back and forth matchup against the 49ers, Cade Otton, with as often as Baker Mayfield has been dropping back to pass, I'd like him a bit more than Fannin just because after last week, seeing Njoku used much more than Fannin, I think Otton's the better of the two.
On some news updates this morning, Mike Garofalo noted that Hassan Haskins is expecting to be the Chargers' lead back, so take that for what you will. We actually do have a question from Jess popping right now in full PPR, Khalil Shakur or Hassan Haskins. We have Shakur higher and in full PPR. I think he probably deserves a benefit at that. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, over like 20% of the team's targets in 2 of the last 3 games as he's been ramping up from like he had the injury earlier in the season. So I think it's Shakir in this matchup, even though, yeah, we talked about the upside for Coleman, but with Dalton Kincaid with that oblique injury, could see a few more targets going to the wide receivers versus the tight end.
We also got a confirmation from Adam Schefter saying Kyler Murray will not play in week 6 as expected. Schefter also noted Bam Knight will start ahead of Michael Carter.
Okay.
Huh. Where did that come from? I know Carter wasn't like the most efficient guy.
Was that also part of the fine from Jonathan Gannon that he had to say Bam Knight is starting?
Just those 4 carries Bam had last week were so incredibly impressive. That's tough. I'm hesitant in bumping Carter drastically down the ranks, guys. I mean, just kind of looking at where we have him right now among the running backs. Not like he was exactly topping the board off as it was, but still was the RB23 coming in top 24. So I would say the guys right behind him, Chris, in our consensus ranks, we got David Montgomery, Jalen Moore, and Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, Chase Brown, Ramondre Stevenson. Do we move Carter like behind Stevenson, or am I overthinking a morning report on Sunday?
Well, moving him behind Stevenson, I think, is fair because we know with the condensed backfield for the Patriots, there should be more touches there versus maybe 3 in the rotation for Arizona. So I don't think that's too crazy.
That's probably be my feel on thing, guys. Carter goes from, again, just cracking the top 50 to a little bit further behind Ramondre Stevenson. Again, that will be updated in the ranks shortly. CC Denton, Hunter Henry or Njoku. It would be Hunter Henry this week. Ruckus, Swift, or Warren. I think we talked about that earlier already. Eileen Swifty, Ultimate Wad, Diggs, or BTJ. I think the blow-up potential is there for BTJ, Chris. I'm feeling it this week. Seahawks down 2 starting corners. But based on the safer play, 19 targets over the last 2 weeks, I do have Stephon Diggs ranked higher.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But the one thing to note, and this is where using the utilization report can help you see some of this stuff, Stephon Diggs has still been something of a part-time player in this offense. His route rate has been somewhere between 60 and 70% in each of the last 3 to 4 weeks. And while his target share has been 40+% in back-to-back weeks, I have at least enough concerns about should this wind up being a complete blowout for the Patriots. Is Diggs really going to see the benefits of that, of the New England running up the score? Whereas it could just be the running backs, could be Hunter Henry, and then maybe even Drake May running in a touchdown. Versus BTJ, we know where most of those targets are going to be going. It's going to be split between him and Travis Hunter.
With all due respect to our Xfinity Start Sit tool, sometimes this comes down to where does Dwayne have them projected. So all of our rankers do, in fact, have Stephon Diggs ranked ahead of BTJ, but it is a free country after all. From Cappy America, bye-week blues. Ain't that the truth, brother? RB2, half PPR. Well, you can't pick RJ Harvey, man. He is actively playing football right now. Blake Corum or Kyle Monangai.
Lord have mercy.
I know. I'd probably leave Monangai for that post rookie buy bump, we got going on. So Blake Corum, I'm just worried that, again, after the fumble last week, they brought him back on the field and then he immediately dropped the pass. I just have no confidence in his workload right now. So probably Kyle Monangai. Where are you at, Chris?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the point or the case for Blake Corum would be if this is going to be another blowout against the Ravens, could they just wind up having Corum play, let's say in the 4th quarter, get a few extra snaps and some touches here and there, and he winds up banging one in for a touchdown? I think that's the only, but again, that's projecting game script. We don't know if that's going to be the case. And I would say that's the upside case for a guy like Blake Corum. Whereas for Monangai, Yeah, we're hoping to see a bit more out of him, but it's just tough to trust. And especially Washington's run defense has been fairly stout over the last 4 to 5 weeks.
Jake Spriggs, Debo or Tedero McMillan? I do have Debo a little bit ahead. I'm curious, producer Matt, what the start sit tool says here. Because again, Tedero McMillan, A+ targets in every single game this season. I believe only Puka and Garrett can also say that. So volume's going to be there. I have Debo ranked higher. What do you say, Chris?
I'd still go Debo just from the quality of targets, because while Tetaroa has been seeing like high volume, like plus 20%, it's his actual catchable target rate, which is another thing you can get out of the utilization report, has been in like the 60s or 70s, somewhere in there. So if we're already concerned about the offensive line missing a couple of key starters as well, and Bryce having to really throw on the move, I'd say that Debo is the better of those two.
Start sit tool agrees. And just remember, whenever it agrees with me, couldn't recommend the start sit tool more. From CC Denton, Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams, 6 points per passing touchdown. It's gotten close, guys, but we do essentially have Jaden Daniels as the top 3 quarterback. Caleb Williams coming more so in that QB5 to QB8 range. So still Jaden, Chris. Again, Bears defense getting a little bit healthier, but give me Jaden.
Yeah, the rushing should still be there for Jaden. It was good to actually see him scramble as much as he did coming off of the knee injury. I thought it was going to be something of a reduced workload for Jaden as a runner. And even without Terry McLaurin in the lineup, you are trying to at least bank on the volatility that comes with pocket passers with regards to Caleb Williams. And could this be a case where we were talking earlier about DeAndre Swift, where he winds up getting a touchdown and then it's less for Caleb Williams? So I would say Jaden has at least the more upside of the two.
Gut Checker has Tucker Kraft and Tyler Warren. He's wondering if there is a way for him to get a running back and what value to expect. So Yahoo has a pretty cool trade market page where you can literally see like what trades have gone down. So I typed in Tucker Kraft. DeAndre Swift was a 1-for-1. I personally wouldn't really be loving that. I'm guessing you can get better value out there for Tyler Warren. He's gone straight up for, let's see, Jalen Waddle. I know you're looking for a running back though. Honestly, yeah, if it's going to be in the Swift range of things, I would not be loving that. I think best case, if you find another manager who has like a super tight end needy roster, like they just have nobody out there. I'm in some leagues like that. Maybe then he can go into the Travis Etienne, Brees Hall, Quinshon Judkins side of things. Maybe that is wishful thinking though. So otherwise it would be the DeAndre Swift, Dave Montgomery, Alvin Kamara side, which again, not quite as appealing, but what can you do? From Jennifer, Sam Darnold or Bryce Young, definitely Sam Darnold there. I know it is the Cowboys, but Darnold playing so well. AJ Hawk's Toxic Finger is back. That is a sicko choice to make. You are right, AJ. I appreciate you. Johnny, Xavier Legette, Shepard, or Downs in full PPR. Where did I put Shepard? I think I have him kind of around Josh Downs. I do have Josh Downs a little bit higher, Chris. Alec Pierce is going to be back this week. We weren't really seeing Downs get the 2 wide receiver snaps as it was. So maybe I'm still holding on to the reality that Josh Downs is really freaking good at football and he is due to go off one of these days. But I still go Josh Downs here.
It's Josh Downs. He did see more targets in week 5, but I do wonder if that was just because Michael Pittman came into that game with the hamstring injury, because I think he had the limited practice before their week 5 games. So I wonder if that's part of the reason for that. So if it's less of an injury thing for Pittman here in week 6 and the potential for Downs to see fewer or a little like less work in this game is possible. But still, I think I'm completely with you that Downs is a damn good football player. He just has a lot of other players like that are also good on his team. So, but still, I think it's Downs out of that group.
Start Sittle says Sterling Shepard. It is very close between those two. If you want to go Shepard over Downs, I will not call you crazy. From Rahul, happy week 6, my friend. Need a third wide receiver between T. Higgins or Kendrick Bourne. He says definitely Bourne, right? I have Higgins a few spots higher. I have Higgins as my wide receiver 28. I have Bourne as my wide receiver 31. So I do not think it's egregious. If we did find out that Jennings actually wasn't going to play, then I would go ahead and lean Bourne. But again, we are expecting Jennings to be out there. So I'm just barely giving Higgins the benefit of the doubt. Not all of our rankers in agreement. Where do you fall with it, Chris?
I'll go Bourne. I have to see it. And of course, I have, even with my sign here that we are wacko for Flacco in this Bengals house, I I don't have a ton of faith that this is going to work out. And it's not the best matchup anyway, going up against the Packers. So I would say that out of the two, it's the guy with the better, I would say the better offensive system. How about that? Not the better, and I don't know, Mac Jones might be a better quarterback too. I mean, I don't think that's too terrible. So yeah, I would say it's probably Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, he didn't list the scoring system. I think that would be enough for tiebreaker to go ahead and just give me Bourne. Good talk from Thomas. Goff or Mahomes? We're going with Patrick Mahomes there. Passing game, again, has been looking better with Xavier Worthy. Again, just having that rushing upside, banged up Lions secondary. Let's go with Mahomie. From Rob, Malik Washington. Oh my God. Malik Washington, PPR, or Mac Wilson in a 1.5 point per tackle IDP league. Give me Mac Wilson, Chris. I'm not sure if I've answered an IDP question in the last few years, but it feels good. Give me Mac Wilson. Why not?
Yeah, and so going up against the Saints, yeah, I could see that. I could see him racking up enough tackles to make that versus Malik Washington, where even without Tyreek Hill, he hasn't factored into that offense or that passing game as much as we thought he was going to. So I would say, yeah, let's go with Mac Wilson.
From Dennis Shakir or Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going with Marv here. Again, one of the worst halves of football that we've ever seen, in week 4, Thursday night, or whatever it was. Last 6 quarters, though, Marv has really started to play very good. And again, I really do think it could be almost a Fields to Tyrod sort of situation where going from Kyler or Jacoby actually doesn't even hurt. Maybe even just helps his passing game a little bit. So you going with Marv as well, Chris?
If we're talking about revenge narratives as kind of a tiebreaker, Harrison doesn't get the revenge narrative, but he is going to Indianapolis where his pops played at. So we'll see if he can wind up making some magic on the same field that his dad did.
I like it. Sarah, George Pickens, or Tedero McMillan. We do consensusly have Pickens just ahead of T-Mac. Great problem to have, though. Again, you really better have, some pretty solid options otherwise to be sitting either of those guys on the bench. Sorry, lost my spot here. We'll kind of run through these. Kamara or Michael Carter. I think based on that news we just got, we're going with Alvin Kamara there. Start one, Chris. Chase Brown, Haskins, Jameson Williams. Probably still Chase Brown.
Yeah, probably. The hope would be that as often as Joe Flacco was targeting the running backs for Cleveland, that Brown works in as a receiver a bit more with the quarterback switch. So we'll give this 1 week and see how that works for Chase Brown specifically.
From Jeremy, Zay Flowers, Travion Henderson, or JMO. We did hear that Zay Flowers could be a little bit limited out there. Is that enough for you to go Travion, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. Again, we're projecting what that split is going to be now with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, but I'll still give it up to Henderson with the easier matchup against the Saints run defense.
Bill Krosky Merritt versus Kenneth Walker. We do consensusly have Bill Krosky Merritt. Just a great matchup. And again, not really seeing Kenneth exactly take over. Bryce Young or Mac Jones in a super flex. I think I'm going Mac Jones, Chris.
Yeah, Mac Jones for sure, with as well as he's played. I know he's beat up and the potential for in-game injury aggravation or something along those lines is possible. But for as well as he's playing, that's Mac Jones for sure.
Travis Hunter or Tony Pollard in standard. I think given that last caveat, we're going Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I'd say Tony Pollard. If it was even half PPR, I would give the nod to Hunter. But yeah, let's take the volume with Pollard.
JTB needs 2 RBs from Pollard, Warren, Henderson, and Pacheco. I think he's got the order right. Pollard and Warren.
Yeah, Pollard and Warren. I mean, there's some potential case for Pacheco. That run game has been looking a bit better, but it's Kareem Hunt once they get inside the goal line. Rashard Smith has been taking a lot of receptions out of the backfield. So I'd say it's probably Pollard and Warren.
Ahmed, you are crazy for sitting London for Ridley, Cook for Judkins, and McBride for Tunches all around. So thanks for stopping by. Jess, Shakur, or Haskins. Yeah, I think we went through that. AJ Hawks. PPR, AJ Hawks, Toxic Fingers back. Coleman or Michael Carter. I'd probably still go Carter there. Again, I don't love that report, but at that point, like we're talking boomer bust wide receiver 4 versus a running back, that should still be seeing 12 to 15 carries and targets. Give me Carter.
Yeah, and I'm really skeptical of this whole Bam Knight supposed to be the starter. So sure, he could be the starter, but then every series afterwards, it just could be Carter. So if they wind up going the hot hand route, and we just saw Carter essentially take over that backfield last week, the same thing could happen this week too.
Generally, guys, again, Coleman is, I'm drawing the line there, and I'm going to go ahead and just invest in this kind of fluky backfield. But I will say, the Chargers backfield, that's the one that is a lot tougher to get behind. So,
Yeah.
and we have a question from Scott where it's Kamara, Carter, or Haskins. Give me Alvin Kamara in that group.
Yeah, 100%. Again, we talked earlier about Kendre Miller and that split as it continues to get closer and closer to 50-50. I still say it's Kamara for this week.
I believe, all have Jordan Love ahead Justin Herbert. Is that who you would have, Chris?
Yeah, makes sense. I know that Josh Jacobs will probably rush in a touchdown or two against my Bengals, but looking at the outlook for Love passing against the Bengals secondary versus Herbert and down one receiver, that's Jordan Love.
Yeah, I wrote up my mismatch column this week, which you can find at fantasylife.com. Best explosive passing game advantage this week does go to Green Bay. Hopefully, going to be benefiting Jordan Love in a big way. Tedero McMillan or Kenneth Walker or DeAndre Swift. Tedero McMillan there for Libby Jam.
Mm-hmm, yeah, there's maybe potential case for Ken Walker there, but I think it's still Tedero.
Little big man. I don't know where I got Lily Jam from. It is early, everyone, at least somewhere in this world. Nate Deasy, have a spot available. Sorry, man. It's tough. Let's see. Daniels or Stafford. Definitely Jaden Daniels. Thanks for hanging out. Chi-Town Rob. Allen, Metcalf, or Bourne. I'm going DK Metcalf, man. He's been dominating targets. They haven't been throwing a ton. I think Pittsburgh's going to have a tough time running the ball, and they honestly could be throwing a little bit more. Denzel Ward is a dog, but he doesn't usually shadow number ones. Give me Metcalf.
Yeah, if it's full PPR, I would just go Bourne just for the larger potential for more targets, because Metcalf hasn't seen more than 7 targets in a single game. Even in the game over in London where he scored, they had 126 yards or something like that. It was only on 5 targets. So I do have just some general concerns about the volume for the Steelers offense. No Calvin Austin this week, if I'm remembering right. So that should push some more looks his way. But if this is full PPR, I would say Bourne just for the volume.
Carter, Ridley, Jennings, or Tucker. I'm assuming that's Trey Tucker.
Yeah.
I'm going one of the wide receivers. It is full PPR. Probably Ridley.
Probably Ridley. Tucker's probably that's a bit too thin for me. I would say Ridley, but it's close.
I have Ridley wide receiver 30, Jennings wide receiver 32. So certainly is very close. Metcalf or Ladd. I will go with Ladd, particularly with QJ not expected to play. Same page, Chris?
Yes.
Cool. Vidal, Gainwell, or Swift. I would go with Swift out of that group. Again, we're expecting Haskins to maybe get a little bit more of the work. Gainwell is going to best case be splitting with Warren. Swift, I know it's gross, but I think we should still be going there.
Yep, agree.
Ridley or Henderson, toss up. Eileen Ridley. Where are you at, Chris?
I'll lean Ridley, but I'm probably just trying because I have Henderson in a couple leagues. I am betting that there's better days ahead without having Antonio Gibson in the lineup.
Dave's a real sicko spot. Isaiah Bond or Malik Washington.
Shoo!
I think give me Isaiah Bond, but not too confident.
Yeah, not confident either, but where he's being used out in the field, I thought his average depth of target was relatively low. I could be wrong on that. Let me
Zion,
look.
I would go Keenan Allen over Matthew Golden, again, given the QJ factor. Jennifer, I would go Darnold over Bryce Young. William, McConkey, or BTJ. Standard, I would still be going McConkey, again, given just a QJ injury. I would not feel great about the Seahawks DST, but it's between them or the Titans. Why is it between them and the Titans? Probably still the Titans, though, honestly. Just hope that Geno keeps throwing some of – not Geno, but you guys know what I'm saying. I know it is Geno. Yeah, I'm right.
Yeah,
little big man, Rams or Patriots. So DST, honestly, the Rams are better for this week, but the Patriots, guys, they get you through like week 14. So I would just keep holding the Patriots in this situation.
Although they did just add another starter to the injury report.
Gonzalez got hurt.
No, it was one of their defensive tackles. They just added him with an illness or something along those lines.
Jeez, not great. Okay, yeah. I wouldn't blame you for saying I'm going to stream them and I'll figure it out. The Rams are the better play this week. It's up to you if you want to go ahead and just ride with the Patriots.
Yep.
0.5 point per completion and 6 point passing touchdowns, Dak or Caleb. I think with that caveat, Chris, I'd probably be down to go ahead and go a little bit more for Dak.
Yeah. I don't see a problem with that. It's been for Caleb. I wouldn't say volatile, but how he's targeting Rome down the field, some of the shots too, let's say if they try and even get Luther Burden involved a bit more, I'd say that Dak is the better of the two, just with that half point per completion.
Run through a few more before we wrap up, everyone. Aaron, I would go with Chase Brown over Jameson Williams. Let's see.
Yep.
Start 2, Tetero, Rashad White, Xavier Worthy, and BTJ. God, I'm so ready for BTJ to boom here, but man, some of these questions, I think I'd have to go White and Tetero. I want to lean Worthy, but I just don't love this injury. I think I might have White and Worthy ranked higher. It's between Worthy and Tetero. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's those two. And that's the thing. He went from, what was it, a limited practice or almost a close to a DNP to full practice on Friday that Xavier Worthy did. So I just have general concerns about if this is going to be a thing where he gets banged up in the middle of the game, has to sit out for a little bit and comes back. So that's my general concern. But I'd still roll him out this week.
Jesse, yes, we're going Josh Allen over Matthew Stafford. Now that you asked the question, though, it's probably going to be wrong. So thanks for putting that out into the world. Devontae Adams, Tetero McMillan, or Jawan Jennings. Devontae Adams, consensus top 10 option. Better start. Let's see. Bond Washington or Flournoy. I think
another Bond question.
Flournoy. Yeah, we got Bond Washington or Flournoy. I think I'd lean Flournoy in that one.
Yeah, I'd lean Flournoy there. Just from the quarterback play, right? I think that's the easier tiebreaker there. Just looking at who's throwing them the ball. So I think Flournoy.
McConkey definitely over Romeo, as great as Romeo's 3-touchdown performance was. Yes, Abe Fuzzy, we did see the Bam Knight over Carter. We adjusted the ranks. I moved Carter kind of down past like the sick Tony Pollard, Chase Browns of the world, and Ramondre Stevenson as well. Once we now get into kind of those RB2 types, though, the Trayvon Hendersons of the world, I still would go with Michael Carter. Let's see. Andrews. All right. I think that's going to about wrap it up, everyone. Hey, appreciate you all as always. Again, fantasylife.com. We have our start sit tool fueled by both our projections and rankings. And again, there literally is a slider that lets you decide if it's a toss-up, if you should be looking for the ceiling, which is calculated, or also the floor. Again, trailing winning, because that honestly, Chris, is a lot of what goes into it. Again, the two weather concerns, Chris, not overly concerned with it. If it's a close call with a kicker or something like that, go ahead and play the guy not dealing with wind and rain, but otherwise not too big of a problem. And again, if you guys do want free Fantasy Life Plus for a year, I guarantee you we will not be offering a better deal than that over the course of the next 12 months. Go ahead and go to fantasylife.com and you can go ahead and just see that process for yourself. Download Comment Perplexity and you will be good to go there. So that's going to wrap it up. I will be back this evening post Sunday Night Football. Matt, I'm Ian. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, take care, everybody.